Hey guys, it's Mr. Mini Painter here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I painted Warmachine from the Marvel Crisis Protocol game by Atomic Mass Games. And this particular miniature I had started painting several months ago, then left it because I wasn't really satisfied. So I primed over it again and started from the beginning and made a new combination of non-metallic metal look with a metallic metal look. So I was quite satisfied in the end. It worked for me, so I'm going to show you how I did it, and I hope this video is of any help to you guys. So as I mentioned before, I had painted the model several months before, but I decided to do it again, and I left the model in my original gray primer, and the base has a slightly different color, so with you it should be more or less the same color, of course. Now I'm starting with a Corvus Black for the black metallic parts. Now with these kind of miniatures it's always kind of difficult to figure out what color goes where, especially with those minis like Iron Man, Warmachine. They have a combination of silvery metallic parts and colored metallic parts, black in this case. So check out your box art and see what goes where, and you should be able to paint the right parts. In the end, I had something like this, so you see some gray shining through and the black as a base color for the black parts. In here you have these metallic parts between the joints below his chest armor. There is some gray parts there as well. The shoulder parts underneath his arms, and of course his iconic helmet. On the back you can see what parts I have painted black and left in the original gray color, and of course the gray parts we're going to be painting in a different color in the further steps. Alright, so now I'm painting over the Corvus Black with Black Templar. This is kind of an approach like if it were a shade, like a Null Oil, but what I like about this Black Templar is that it adds contrast, while, for example, Null Oil just adds shade. And in this way you get a differentiation in color. It works more or less like a shade, but you get some highlights and deeper color in the recessed areas. So it's the best of both worlds, I think. And of course, Warmachine, I love it when his armor is nice and dark, so the darker the better to start from. We're going to be highlighting that later on. So once this is dry, you should have a result looking something like this. If you have touched the parts that are not supposed to be black, it's not a big deal. We're going to paint over that later on anyway. Now with some gray cere, I'm painting over the chest area, as that is going to reflect some light from his core that is in his chest here. And it's emitting some light and should have some glow effect, so I'm whitening it up a little bit more to emphasize that glow later on. Next I'm using Ironbreaker, which is a metallic look for all the metal parts. Now I could go for a non-metallic metal paint job, but I really enjoyed this shiny part in combination with the black, so that's the reason I chose both. because his armor, of course, is all metal, but the black look has this nice matte look now, which I really enjoy. Now, it can be quite tricky to paint in between those parts that you have painted black already. Try and be as careful as possible, otherwise you have to repeat your first process. Next, I'm using Ashen Gray as a highlight on all the black parts, focusing on the top areas of the armor, giving it some edge highlight. It's a subtle highlight, but more than enough to make a difference. And next I'm repeating this step by using Dawnstone to brighten it up even a little bit more on those top areas, the areas that would reflect the most light, so make sure that that reflection is visible. There's a ton of details in this miniature, so take your time and really pick out all those details. Now once this is done, this should be more or less your result. Looking quite nice already. We've added a ton of details to the black armor, and there's so many details that you really want to make them work. So take your time, because this is mostly the important stage of your miniature, paying attention to those tiny details. And don't overrush your project. Now I'm washing the gray parts, the metal parts I mean, with Nuln Oil to create some shading in there as well. And then it's time to start highlighting the metal parts, the bright metal parts. And to do so I'm using Stormhost Silver to give it some edge highlights. This way you get some sharpness in there and some really defined corners. The bullets going to the minigun I painted with lead belcher, just picking out every single line you can paint in there, leaving some of the darker areas in between. So pick them out one by one, and you get some nice details on there as well. Now it's time to go for the red, and I'm first using Doomfire Magenta, which is a bit pink-purple, close towards the red, which really works for this glow. When you focus on the outside, the inside will automatically be brighter, which is the fun thing about contrast paints. So this works instantly. Then with some white scar, I'm first painting in the eyes before I'm going to add a red glow to it. And for the red glow, I'm using Bile Red. I'm covering the outside and the glow of the chest with Bile Red as well. And I'm painting some red in the sockets of the eyes here, the openings of the helmet, to create that nice glowy effect. When emitting a glow, it's okay to paint a little bit around the source of the light. But make sure to thin down your paint then. Next, with some corn red, I'm painting in the tiny missiles on his shoulder. And now a fun little detail with Grey Seer. He has this serial number on his suit, showing that it is the Mark I version of the suit, of the armor. So I tried to add that, which wasn't easy because it's tiny, but I think I managed. Next, a mixture of bile red and white scar to highlight the center of the core, the energy core on his chest, and also paint the edges. This should be a bit brighter than the rest, so kind of use it like a dry brush or edge highlight and paint in the surrounding area, so to emphasize the glow on his chest. Next is back to Gray Seer to paint the clouds, the burst of fire coming from his suit. So we're going to paint it like it's a tiny explosion. And of course this is going to have a little glow on the bottom part of his suit. So I dry brushed the bottom of his feet and a tiny part of the bottom part of the armor itself with this color. Now we're going to use Ironjaw's yellow as a base color for all of the part below, as it's a yellow burst of fire coming out of his boots. And we're going to color in the rest from here. I'm adding a tiny glow to the base. And also to the bottom part of the armor, as you can see here. Don't overdo it, it's just a tiny reflection there. We're going to add some darker color by Yanding Yellow, which is an orange approach, and we're going to cover about half of the paint we did before. Focus on those larger areas, some darker spots in between. The effect you're trying to reach here is like a random pattern. Now with some Mechanicus Standard Gray I painted the base. I decided not to go for the glowy effect on the floor. It's up to you if you want it. It just didn't really work for me. You can add that later on if you want. Next I decided to add some extra fun detail by using Croxigore Scales, which is a contrast paint. I thinned it down quite a bit and decided to paint the right side of this miniature in this color, as if this was shaded. And it just is a fun tiny detail that really makes this model work. So you got a darker side on this side and a brighter side on the other side. Then with some white scar I'm painting in some lines on the fire here, which are supposed to be the brightest parts, the most hot parts of this fire eruption from his suit. Once this is done, we are going to continue on the reds, and for that I'm using Flesh Terror's Red, again a contrast paint which blends together really nice. I'm picking out some of those parts and darken them up. I'm adding some Nuln Oil to the base to really make those details pop out, which we're going to be highlighting later on. While we let this dry, we're going to continue on the fire, and I'm taking some Abaddon Black and an old dry brush to create kind of a stipple effect on the bright part that we painted before, to create the illusion of smoke, some darkness, and put that on randomly. You don't have to cover certain areas. The more random, the more realistic it looks. Now with some gray sear, I'm dry brushing the rest of the base. And that's it for our miniature Warmachine. And here's our final result for Warmachine, and even though it took me more than half a year to paint this guy, I'm really happy with the end result, and I hope this video is of any help to you guys as well. And if it is, please let me know, leave something in the comment, I will reply to your comments always, and consider subscribing to the channel as I'll be making a lot more videos like this. I also have a Patreon page which you might find worth checking out, because I'm painting a lot of different games there as well. And I would really appreciate it if you check it out, and you can follow me for free, and there is some paid content on there as well. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye!